If you are brand new to motorcycling and maybe have never even been on a motorcycle yet, it can be a little daunting to understand where the controls are and what the functions are of those controls and buttons. In this video, I'm going to cover where these controls are located and what their functions are. With that being said, this is going to be focused on all electric start modern motorcycles. To make things a little bit simpler, I do want to separate the difference between a lever and a button. So in a lever, that's going to be more of the control elements for the motorcycle regarding stopping and going. So we're going to cover the front brake, the rear brake, the shifter, the clutch, and the throttle. We'll start with the right-hand side of the motorcycle. At the handlebar, you have two controls. You have the front brake lever as well as the throttle. The throttle lives in the handlebar and it actually twists. Further down the right side, right in front of the foot peg, is going to be the rear brake lever. On the left-hand side of the motorcycle, starting at the handlebar, you have the clutch lever. There's only one lever on this side compared to the right side, which has two. The handlebar here is stationary. It does not twist. You only have the clutch lever. Moving further down the left-hand side, just in front of the foot peg, is where your shift lever lives. It almost goes without having to be stated what the front brake does. However, let's talk about it. The front brake, again, is located on this right-hand side on the handlebar. You engage this lever and it's going to engage the front brake. The throttle lives in the right side hand grip, different than the left-hand side that doesn't move at all. This throttle does twist. The throttle is going to be responsible for the go of the motorcycle, how fast. The more you twist it, the faster that rear wheel is going to spin. The rear brake lives on that right-hand side and is actuated using the pressure from your foot. It lives just in front of that foot peg. The clutch lever is responsible for disengaging and re-engaging the manual transmission. You pull it in towards the handlebar to disengage, and you let it away from the handlebar to re-engage that manual transmission. The shift lever lives on this left-hand side, right in front of the foot peg. It is actuated by either pulling up or pushing down to get into various gears. The shift pattern on a motorcycle is different than that of a car. It can only go up or go down. First lives all the way at the bottom. Neutral comes after that, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth if you have that many gears. Now let's talk about the buttons. So the buttons are going to be clustered. For the most part, you're going to have some on this handlebar and on this handlebar. Now you can take note real quickly that there are a lot more controls on this side than there are on this side. And the reason for that is because your hand is generally going to be busy twisting on this throttle, where your left hand is just hanging out because this doesn't do anything. So you have a lot more opportunity to be able to use those buttons. Based on the motorcycle that you have, you might have a press button ignition. You might also have just a standard key and then turn on ignition. Now this is different than that of a car. All this does is turns the brain of the motorcycle on. It doesn't actually start the engine. To start the engine, you're going to go to the right-hand side and you're going to find this big red button. Now, different models are going to have different looks. In this case, this one has a big red button and it's going to have this open circle and a lightning bolt. That's going to start the engine. You're going to press down on that until that engine turns over. This other one here that also happens to say stop has an open circle with an X through it. You would then press on that to stop the engine. There's a lot more going on the left-hand side. This is because you're not having to twist a throttle, and the clutch lever, you simply pull it in and release it, and that's all you have to do with your left hand. Each model is going to be a little bit different based on the way that they want to configure everything here. But generally speaking, you're going to have control of your lights, things like your blinkers. You're going to be able to have control of your high beam and low beam, and you're going to have your horn all on this side. Your hazard lights are going to have the same symbol that it does in your car, so it's going to have that triangle. Not all cars have it in red, but you're typically going to find it in red on your motorcycle. The horn is usually going to be down at the bottom here. The reason for that is it's much easier to actuate this with your thumb when you're holding onto the handlebar than to try to hit it with your fingers if it was located somewhere else. And every make and model is going to have a different look and functionality to how their menu buttons work. Generally though, you're going to have a way to get into your menu, a way to get out of that menu, and to toggle left and right, up and down. Depending on just how much tech you have on your motorcycle, you might have a ride mode button. That's going to change the way that mapping works on the motorcycle and how overall the motorcycle is going to feel and operate. This button is going to look very different on every single make and model. For my personal bike, which is a 2022 R1250 GS, this is what it looks like. Now the functionality of having this ride mode is to change the overall mapping of how these controls work. So again, depending on just how much tech you want in your first motorcycle, you might have ride modes and you might not. Now this is a simpler motorcycle. It is a 2015, so it's not an old motorcycle, but it's very simple. The levers are going to remain the same on a bike like this. So you're still going to have your front brake over here, your throttle, your rear brake lives under here. You're going to have your clutch and then your shifter on this left-hand side. The buttons are generally going to stay in the same place as well, but they're going to have a slightly different look. The ignition on this motorcycle is a key. So you actually have to put a key in there and turn that on. Again, it doesn't start the engine. The engine gets started over here. Now this is the only thing that lives on this side is starting the engine. There are no other buttons on this right-hand side cluster. The symbols are about the same, but there's a third button here. This is having the engine off. It cannot start. Then having it here means the engine has the ability to start. However, you need to have this button that has the lightning bolt. This is your actual engine start button. You're going to press and hold that until that engine fires up. Now, if I had this one down and I'm in that off position, I would not be able to actually turn the engine over. So you have to have it in the open circle position and press the button that has the lightning bolt. The left-hand side has fewer buttons still. However, it still has the horn down here where I can hit it with my thumb. The blinkers are all in one position. You're going to press left for left blinker and right for right blinker, and then press it in and towards that handlebar to turn those off. Now, the high beam and low beam are all right here instead of on the back side to turn those on. That's all that's over here. Very simple, simple bike. Thank you so much for staying through the entire video. This hopefully has cleared up where the levers and the buttons live on your motorcycle and what functionality they have. This should help for the next time and maybe the first time you have ever gotten on a motorcycle. Go ahead and get some training. That's going to help really clear up where all of these controls live and how they work. We look forward to seeing you out on the roads and trails and hope to have you back here at Clear Moto.